How good was Prime Ronaldo in the Champions League? There are great players. There are legendary players. And then there are players whose presence changes the emotional temperature of an entire competition. On European nights, when the anthem rose and the floodlights sharpened the air, one figure seemed to grow taller, faster, and more inevitable than everyone else. Did not just play in Europe's biggest tournament, he reshaped what dominance looked like inside it. To understand how good Prime Ronaldo was you must look beyond numbers, beyond trophies, beyond even the goals that defined him. You must understand the psychological certainty he brought to the biggest stage in club football. Because when Ronaldo entered his prime, the Champions League stopped feeling unpredictable. It started to feel like a story already written. The transformation from talent to force. Ronaldo's early European appearances with showcased promise, flashes of brilliance, speed, and daring ambition. But promise is not what defines a prime. Prime is when potential hardens into inevitability. By the late 2000s, Ronaldo had evolved physically and mentally. Faster without the ball, stronger in duels, ruthless in decision-making, obsessed with efficiency over spectacle. The tricks became fewer. The impact became greater. He wasn't trying to entertain defenders anymore. He was trying to end games. The Real Madrid era, when dominance became routine. If Manchester was where Ronaldo sharpened his tools, was where he built his empire. This period didn't just define Ronaldo's prime, it redefined expectations of what a single player could do in Europe's most demanding competition. Champions League knockout rounds are supposed to expose weaknesses. They are meant to humble stars. Instead, they became Ronaldo's favorite stage. He scored against champions, against defensive masters, against teams specifically designed to stop him. And he did it not once, but season after season. The knockout stage phenomenon. Group stage goals can build confidence. Knockout stage goals build legacy. Prime Ronaldo specialized in the latter. When tension peaked, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, his performances didn't drop. They escalated. This is what separated him from most elite forwards. Pressure sharpened him rather than restricting him. The bigger the match, the simpler his decisions became. Simplicity made him unstoppable. No wasted movement, no hesitation, just timing, positioning, and execution. A perfect evolution of the modern forward. Prime Ronaldo wasn't tied to a single style of scoring. He became a complete attacking system by himself. He could win aerial duels like a classic striker, attack space like a winger, finish clinically like a poacher, strike from distance with devastating power. Defenders couldn't prepare for a Ronaldo. They had to prepare for multiple versions of him, often within the same match. Athleticism that changed defensive mathematics. One of the most overlooked aspects of Ronaldo's prime was how his physical profile altered tactics before a ball was even kicked. He forced defenses to retreat deeper. That created space for teammates. That space created momentum, and momentum created goals, often his own. Even when he didn't touch the ball, Ronaldo shaped the geometry of the game. Few attackers in Champions League history have influenced matches so profoundly without constant possession. Consistency across seasons, the true measure of greatness. Many players produce one historic campaign. Prime Ronaldo produced historic campaigns repeatedly. Year after year, different opponents, different tactical eras, different supporting casts, yet the outcome remained familiar. Goals in decisive moments. This level of sustained excellence is extraordinarily rare in a tournament designed to eliminate even the best. The mentality that made the difference. Skill alone does not explain Ronaldo's European dominance. Mindset does. He approached Champions League matches with an intensity closer to individual sport athletes, sprinters, fighters, competitors whose careers depend on marginal gains. Preparation became ritual, physical conditioning at extreme levels, tactical study of opponents, relentless repetition of finishing scenarios. By the time matches arrived, Ronaldo wasn't reacting. He was executing rehearsed inevitabilities. Reinventing himself to stay at the top. Prime Ronaldo wasn't static. He evolved continuously. From explosive winger to central goal machine. From dribbler to movement specialist. From flair-driven attacker to efficiency-driven scorer. This ability to adapt allowed him to dominate across tactical generations, something very few Champions League stars have managed. The Juventus chapter. Proof of portability. When Ronaldo moved to, many wondered if his European dominance depended on Madrid's system. Instead, he delivered elite performances again, demonstrating that his Champions League impact was not environmental. It was personal. His movement, his timing, his mentality. Those traveled with him. The fear factor, an invisible advantage. Great players earn respect. Prime Ronaldo generated fear. Opponents often adjusted entire defensive structures specifically for him. That attention opened spaces elsewhere, disrupted natural game plans, forced teams to defend reactively rather than proactively. In elite football, psychological pressure can be as decisive as tactics. Ronaldo mastered both. Moments that defined an era. Every legendary Champions League career has signature moments. Ronaldo's prime had many. Late goals that reversed momentum. Performances that decided entire ties single-handedly. Displays of athleticism that felt closer to physics-defying than footballing. These weren't isolated flashes. They were recurring chapters in a long European narrative. How Prime Ronaldo changed expectations for superstars. Before Ronaldo, a great Champions League forward might dominate for a few seasons. After Ronaldo, greatness was measured against sustained, multi-year influence. He raised the standard. More goals required. More decisive moments expected. More physical longevity demanded. The benchmark moved because he moved it. Statistics tell the story, but not the whole story. Numbers alone show extraordinary productivity. But statistics cannot fully capture the timing of his goals, the psychological swing they caused, the sense of inevitability he created. Prime Ronaldo didn't just accumulate goals. He scored when outcomes were still undecided. That is what defines true European greatness. Why his Champions League prime still feels unique. Football continues to evolve tactically and physically. Yet Ronaldo's prime remains a reference point because it combined elite athleticism, technical precision, mental resilience, tactical adaptability, longevity at the highest level. Most players master 2 or 3 of these traits. He mastered all of them simultaneously. The legacy of those European nights. Years later, when fans hear the Champions League anthem, many still associate it with Ronaldo's decisive runs, towering headers, and late-match authority. He became synonymous with the competition itself, not just a participant, but a defining figure of its modern era. Prime Cristiano Ronaldo didn't merely succeed in the Champions League. He turned it into his proving ground, his laboratory, and ultimately, his stage. So how good was Prime Ronaldo in the Champions League? Good enough to dominate it. Great enough to redefine it. Relentless enough to make Europe's toughest tournament feel, at times, like it revolved around him. How good was Prime Ronaldo in the Champions League? There are great players. There are legendary players. And then there are players whose presence changes the emotional temperature of an entire competition. On European nights, when the anthem rose and the floodlights sharpened the air, one figure seemed to grow taller, faster, and more inevitable than everyone else. Did not just play in Europe's biggest tournament, he reshaped what dominance looked like inside it. To understand how good Prime Ronaldo was you must look beyond numbers, beyond trophies, beyond even the goals that defined him. You must understand the psychological certainty he brought to the biggest stage in club football. Because when Ronaldo entered his prime, the Champions League stopped feeling unpredictable. It started to feel like a story already written. The transformation from talent to force. Ronaldo's early European appearances with showcased promise, flashes of brilliance, speed, and daring ambition. But promise is not what defines a prime. Prime is when potential hardens into inevitability. By the late 2000s, Ronaldo had evolved physically and mentally. Faster without the ball, stronger in duels,